Welcome to the Arsenic and Life series, a semi-decent explanation. We begin with the paper published in December 2010 by NASA about a bacteria that can use arsenic in its cellular business. Now let's just discuss what the hell that means. Let's start with the periodic table of elements. Don't freak out, I promise it'll be okay. So first of all, let's simplify this. See this bit at the bottom? Forget about it. Don't you feel better already? These here at the bottom are unstable and reactive, and I really don't care about them right now. So here's what we have left. Some familiar things like gold or sodium and chlorine, well, really chloride, which make table salt and is often used on fries and tastes really fantastic. It's all really great stuff, but for now, none of this business matters. Let's just focus on these. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, and of course, arsenic for now. Everything except arsenic here are the basic ingredients of life, and in biology class, people refer to them collectively as CHNOPS. Good times, super fun to say. Notice that arsenic is right underneath phosphorus. That means that they share similar atomic properties, but we'll talk more about that later. Back to the actual NASA study. Scientists went to Mono Lake where the water is crazy salty and contains arsenic, and they picked up some bacteria and took it back to the lab. In the lab, they grew the bacteria and added arsenic to its environment to see how the bacteria handled it. I doubt they poured it in quite like this, but you get the idea. So they added arsenic, and then more, and 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 more. Remember, these bacteria normally live around arsenic, so it doesn't poison them, but scientists wanted to see if they could force them to use it by giving them more and more and more of it. This experiment is sort of like finding someone who doesn't really like olives and saying, "Do you want an olive?" And he says, "No." So you put him in a cage and leave him there for a while without food and come back and say, "I've got lots of olives, are you sure you don't want an olive?" Just to see what would happen. But anyway, they extracted DNA from the arsenic-based bacteria and found arsenic in the DNA. Of course, most people are just like, what are you talking about? I'll explain. Well, DNA has a backbone and it has bases in the middle. For now, don't worry about the bases. But in the backbone is phosphorus. Now remember that phosphorus and arsenic are similar. Scientists think that arsenic actually replaced phosphorus in the DNA of these bacteria. This is actually what makes arsenic poisonous for us. It replaces phosphorus but messes up our cells. So if these cells can use arsenic in their DNA without dying, that's pretty serious stuff. However, some critics have pointed out that since the DNA was extracted from a bath of arsenic, it's possible the arsenic was just on the DNA and not in the DNA. So future studies will have to sort that out. But if it's true, it's a really big deal. Again, you're like, why? See, all life on Earth is made of the same basic stuff. We all have DNA, protein, lipids, sugar, ATP, etc., and they all look and work exactly the same way in everything from a bacterium to a tree to a cat. If some life can use different versions of them, that can mean that early life could have looked very different. Perhaps the first cell didn't use carbon, maybe it was silicon-based life. It also means a lot for the search for life on other planets. If we only look for life that looks like us, we might miss something. And even here on Earth, there are environments that scientists thought couldn't support life and they were wrong, like deep-sea thermal vents. Life was just discovered there around 20 years ago and scientists were stunned. But come on, just because we think that environment is extreme or that arsenic is poisonous doesn't mean nothing could live there and nothing can use arsenic. We're so narcissistic. So if there is some theme here, it's that having an open mind is always good. Some people wonder, do you think there could be life that is completely different from us? And most people are like, no, that's not possible. But how sad is that? You never really know. So perhaps it's best to keep an open mind, yes? And then everyone can be happy.